Each year, more than 500 cats, dogs, kittens, and puppies get a second chance for hope when they come through the doors of Danbury Animal Welfare Society. Our dogs and cats come to us from a variety of places, including high-kill shelters in other parts of the country. Some are surrendered by owners whose circumstances prevent them from continuing to care for them. Some are left at our doorstep by owners or Good Samaritans. No matter how their story begins, DAWS works hard to make sure their ending is a happy one. Lucky Penny is just one example of a story with a very difficult beginning. She wasn't so lucky until a Good Samaritan and 2 dedicated DAWS volunteers intervened to make a life-saving rescue. In September, a woman told us her neighbor had a mama cat and kittens locked in a storage shed in his backyard. He wasn't feeding them.
By the time we got the phone call from the Good Samaritan, she was very upset. She did everything she could to try and help the cats to get them out of the shed. She called animal control and the police and couldn't get any help from them. So that's when she called DAWS, and Karen and I talked about it and took it upon ourselves to go and help them. Even though it's not a DAWS policy, we felt very strongly, and it broke our hearts to know that they were in there.
We got there and decided to knock on the door, came up with a plan to just say we heard that they wanted to surrender the animals. It took a long time, a lot of persuasion. They resisted, finally agreed to let us take the cats.
Like the good mama that she was, Lucky Penny had been caring for her kittens, nursing them and protecting them during their ordeal. Because of this, they were only slightly malnourished and were happy and playful. Lucky Penny had given all that she could to keep her kittens alive, but without food of her own, she was thin, weak, and barely able to walk.
We first took them back to my house. Very shortly after that, I was able to find homes for Leonard and Sheldon. They were unaffected about the whole situation. They were normal kittens, very happy and healthy. I continued to foster Penny because she was very thin. That took a couple of weeks. Finally, she entered the shelter, and from that point, we figured, she was good to go. We'd find her a great home. Unfortunately, though, in December, she was tested positive for ringworm. She was taken up to the clinic for treatment. Unfortunately, with her compromised immune system, she ended up getting very sick.
Lucky Penny again demonstrated that she is a true survivor. She battled the ringworm infection and is now happier, healthier, and playful. Even though she faced a horrific ordeal, she is confident, beautiful, and is willing to accept love and affection from anyone who wishes to offer it. And one day, she hopes to find a family who will give her the safe, loving home that she deserves. It was a bitter Tuesday night in November when a dog arrived at our shelter. She was cold, frightened, injured, and in pain. Even still, she was sweet. Sweet Charity. She had been attacked by another animal and had injuries to her leg, stomach, and neck. When the animal control officer could not be reached, and when the man who brought her to us was unwilling to bring her to the emergency clinic or to the police station, compassion prevailed. She was set up in our greeting room to await the opportunity to be seen by our vet 2 days later. The board of directors happened to have a meeting at the shelter that night, and when they came down to find Charity in a temporary kennel in our greeting room, one of the board members decided to take her to Newtown Veterinary Specialists for emergency treatment. Our friends at NVS stabilized her, donating 70% of the cost for her emergency care. We brought her back to the shelter the next day.
When Charity first arrived at the clinic, brought in by a volunteer, I expected some wounds on her, some little bite wounds. When I looked at her, she was covered in wounds. I didn't expect the extent of her injuries at all. So the veterinary team at NVS, when they took her in, they kind of cleaned up all the blood on her and they packed her injured leg. When we took the bandage off, we were horrified. It was extensive damage done to her leg. What our veterinarian came to think about was that some of her wounds were old and some of her wounds were fresh. So we started to believe that maybe she was a bait dog, or she was a fighting dog, or she was left outside for weeks on end and had been continually attacked.
Charity's ordeal left her frightened and distrustful. Her physical wounds were matched by her psychological trauma. She needed to learn that humans could provide love and affection, and that other dogs could be companions and friends.
She was petrified. She would sit in the corner, her ears were down, her eyes were sad, and every single day I would get in the cage with her. I would get in the cage with her, and then I would pick her up and rock her and sing to her because she was so afraid. Little by little, she would creep out and creep out. She came out of her shell a little bit more and more every day.
Charity's wounds have healed, and today she is an energetic and playful pup who is anxious to play with other dogs. She still is timid around people she doesn't know, but is growing more confident each day. She is still under quarantine in our shelter and won't be available for adoption for another 3 months. But when that day comes, we hope that she will be blessed with a loving family that will protect and love her through the rest of her days. While Lucky Penny's and Charity's stories are exceptional, the level of compassion, dedication, and perseverance shown by our staff and volunteers to keep animals safe, healthy, and loved is not. The Dawes family goes above and beyond every day to make sure the animals we rescue receive the care and the love that they deserve until they find their forever homes. Danbury Animal Welfare Society makes a difference in the lives of animals every day. We are able to do so because of the kindness and generosity of our donors and sponsors. And with your support, we will be ready to help countless more animals in need, animals like Lucky Penny and Charity, over the next 40 years and beyond. Thank you so much for your support.